In the light of news today that's come out that the Labour peer, Lord Ali, has funded a number of Labour front benchers to the tune of £314,000, as well as Sir Keir Starmer to the tune of £100,000 since 2019. Apparently, it's more than any other Prime Minister has been gifted for personal clothing allowance. It throws into perspective, does it not, Boris Johnson's wallpaper? But Keir Starmer has now said that he's not going to accept any more gifts of clothing, so presumably his wardrobe is full. I'm not sure that's necessarily the best approach forward. He and Angela Rayner have been at the top of the list of beneficiaries. But they also include Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, who's been handed £14,000, and Ed Miliband, who was given £10,000 last year. And Lady Starmer has also been given a clothing allowance. My own instinct is that it is our country's responsibility to ensure that the people who are representing the country at home and abroad are dressed appropriately and look as professional as they should. We ensure that the King and the Queen have an appropriate wardrobe. We should ensure that the Prime Minister and senior ministers are also properly kitted out. And over the Labour Party, I suppose, is a spectre, the ghost of Mr. Foot, Michael Foot, and his donkey jacket. I understand the donkey jacket was in fact quite an expensive item and was not intended as a snub. It was intended as a positive gesture, and that it was simply misinterpreted and promoted as inappropriate by the media. It was a sort of non-story which was inflated and got out of control. But I think there is a point where the largesse of Lord Ali has got slightly out of control, with Andy Burnham also receiving, I think, £11,000. And the figures have come out through the Electoral Commission. It's all been declared appropriately. It's all above board, but it seems dysfunctional, and it seems a little seedy. And there is always the question hanging over this: what would Lord Ali get in return? Well, apparently he gets the keys to number 10, and that has upset Nadine Dorries. So from that point of view, I suppose it's a positive. Anything that gets Nadine Dorries upset must be good, and at least it will generate some invigorating copy. I think David Lammy also got £10,000. I think he was the first person to receive a donation in 2005, and he got another £10,000 in 2007 towards the cost of employing a social policy research assistant. Part of the problem here is, of course, the whole explosion of SPADs across both sides of the parliamentary chamber. And again, I think we need to seriously consider what this is all about, because professional advice should be professional advice and therefore civil service advice. And these SPADs are not quite civil service servants, and they're not quite party political officials. They're not part of the party, they're not part of the civil service. What are they? They're advisors with a special interest in a particular subject, with an angle to support the party. And some of them are paid significant sums of money. Now, if we go back to Dominic Cummings behaved disgracefully, didn't he? and he was protected by the Prime Minister, and then we had the Rose Garden disgrace. Surely that alone should have been enough to have raised eyebrows about the explosion of SPADs in our political life. Do they have purpose, or should they be controlled? I think surely they should all become civil servants, and they should be brought under that civil service banner, and their advice should be impartial. And anything else is inappropriate. We elect the party political representatives. They're called MPs. Out of those MPs, some of them are appointed as ministers, and they do that extra job. And I think we just need to be a little bit more professional, a little bit more shrewd about the way we conduct our politics. This is not the way. And if we had any objections to Boris Johnson, who, I think about it, Boris Johnson had just had a baby. He had just survived COVID. He had controlled probably one of the biggest problems in modern British political life. That's Brexit. And he was pilloried for having a cake. And now we've got a story about significant sums of money involving glasses and suits and dresses, and whether or not these are declared and by whom. I think this goes beyond wallpaper, and it goes beyond a cake. If we can get upset about wallpaper and about a cake, then we can get upset about Keir Starmer's acceptance of money for decking out his wardrobe and the wardrobe of his ministerial friends and family. Because it may be above board, but it smacks of impropriety when this is the excuse for getting rid of a previous Prime Minister from the Conservative Party. Now, you could say the cake was the cake was the icing. The icing on the cake was the thing that broke the camel's back. Let's mix a few metaphors. But it remains the fact that Boris Johnson was effectively taking favours and breaking rules and acting inappropriately. And if Lord Alley's donations are within the rules, they're not quite within the ethics and the propriety of the position. And if they were, then Keir Starmer would continue taking the money and improving his sartorial appearance. But he's not. He's decided that's the end of it. He's right. But I think now we have to justify what's happened so far. Keir Starmer's decision makes it clear that Lord Alley's patronage is questionable and has been questionable. It opens the floodgates to a flood, to a torrent of questions which have so far been suppressed, and it throws into serious doubt the reasons why Boris was dumped. And I'm all for Boris's departure, by the way. I just think it raises more questions than it answers.